Alright, so greetings from the Swift Laredo, Texas terminal. I am pretty much stuck here because there is not too much freight going on. Given the fact that we're so close to the border, there is supposed to be some loads coming through today. I did just reset my 70 and I was available at 7 a.m. this morning, and right now it is about 2:45 and I'm still hanging out. So again, that just kind of comes with the post-Christmas rush and all that stuff. So I'm trying to be patient with it all. I know a lot of truckers are kind of stuck where they're at, whether it's warm or cold. It's like in the 70s right now, so I'm actually kind of sweating. But yeah, so to pick up kind of where we left off, getting out of Minnesota, the whole ordeal of dealing with my truck, my diesel tanks gelling. All the lessons learned with all of that. Again, I really liked Minnesota. It was one of the more charming states, I'd say. I mean, given the fact that it is a colder state, it's one of the nicer, colder states I've seen. The people are really nice. It was just kind of a horrible situation. A few things I did notice which were cool was, they really maintain their roads well up there. They know how to handle the winter. Between salting the roadways, the lanes are actually a little bit wider. I think that's for the sake of snow drift between cars and all that stuff. But yeah, the three main lessons I learned out of my truck, fuel tanks gelling, were one, of course, if it's 20 degrees or below, keep that truck idling. Second would be to add the fuel additive, the anti-gel. There's one called Hose available all over the north. And then last lesson I forgot to kind of mention before was if it's in those temperatures, do not set your trailer brakes, because the trailer brakes, the water in those can actually freeze, and you can't release your brakes, and then you're kind of screwed in a whole another way. So those are the top three things for winter conditions when it's that cold. And what's kind of unfortunate is after my whole ordeal, Swift decides to send me a message kind of highlighting those things, and then a few weeks after that, 6 weeks in the winter, they send a blanket message to all the fleets kind of saying the same stuff. I don't necessarily know why they would say that 6 weeks into winter. Like I've said, regardless of if they may have mentioned it at orientation, my trainer may have mentioned it during training as far as keeping that truck idling when it's cold. Going into the winter would be the biggest time to kind of remind everyone. Also the fact that when they sent out the winter driving condition video that you kind of have to take, or you'd be on safety hold, it's a big slow down, watch for ice, but they don't mention any of that stuff. I don't know if it's because they don't want to tell every driver to be idling and burning their fuel costs, but either way, lessons learned. Some good factors of hanging out in Minnesota that long. I did get a chance to reset my 70. I did get a chance to have a New Year's, kind of legally, and be able to go out and drink and not have to drive for the following 2 days. So pros and cons. Another unfortunate factor is I'm not getting paid the breakdown pay, which is $50 a day for the 2 days. I was actually out 3 days, but I hope for at least 2 days of pay. They're not paying me that because technically I did not have to repower my load. I did not have to give it to another truck to take it to the final destination. What they did is they just pushed out the final destination date, and so I was sitting on it, and so my driver leader was kind of leaving me hanging, and finally I just said, like, am I gonna get paid? And he said no. So I lost money, I lost time, I was stuck in the cold, but again, it all adds up to a good story later. Once I start doing training, I'll definitely reiterate that to my students to be aware of those factors with the winter. Again, I'm from California, never even dealt with negative temperatures up to that point. So lessons learned. So moving on from all that, again, last time I was in Chaska, Minnesota, I did some empty miles down to Winona, Minnesota, and then I took a look to Birmingham, Alabama. I saw Wisconsin for the first time. I slept just south of Madison. One kind of funny story in Wisconsin was I went into a truck stop. It was a Pilot Road Ranger, and right when I go in, there's this old man in front of me, and I see him grab a cinnamon roll from the display case, and he kind of starts munching on it. And as I'm in there, I'm getting a Subway sandwich. I kind of watch him bite after bite. The thing's kind of diminishing, and by the time I see him at the counter buying a chocolate milk and something else, after he walks out, I asked the lady, I was like, did that guy pay for the donut he ate? She's like, what donut? And so it was just kind of funny. I wasn't telling on the guy, but I just thought it was funny. Here's this old man kind of manipulating. You've heard of old people that steal batteries or this or that, but here's this guy. He knew exactly what he was doing. I'm sure he would have played dumb or played the elderly card if he got caught. But so that was just kind of funny. So I got out of Wisconsin. I did get to see the Chargers beat the Bengals, which was totally freaking awesome. I got to watch with a bunch of other truckers, so it was pretty funny. Truckers can be an interesting bunch. And so I got to see my Chargers beat the Bengals, and now I hopefully will get to see them take on the Denver Broncos, which we beat them before this year, so we'll see. But other than that, making my way through the snow, Wisconsin, Illinois. It kind of finally breaks through Kentucky. I slept in Kentucky, and then I hit some pretty bad rain through Tennessee and into Alabama, and I actually parked at an Alabama Walmart. It was about 50 degrees. It was pouring rain when I went to bed. When I woke up, it was totally clear, but it was in the 20s. So it was pretty crazy at night. It was actually warmer, 30 degrees warmer than in the morning. So other than that, I get to my my final destination. Turns out I already have a load stacked on top of that, so I'm trying to get out of there, and then I have to do a lumper payment. I have to wait to get the com data approved, and I'm kind of in a rush and in a bind, and because the next deliveries are just in time. I got to have it in Houston by 12 p.m. It was actually an Ashley Furniture load, and turns out I made it pretty much right before 12 p.m. Went from Alabama, did an empty run to Ecru, Mississippi, and then went to Houston from there. And again, I mentioned it before, my grandparents live in Houston. My grandma actually ended up picking me up at the drop yard, the Ashley drop yard. We went to lunch. My grandpa, Steve, he was able to meet up for lunch, so that was pretty cool. I had some leftovers for the next day, which is always good. And so again, making the best of being on the road and seeing the people across the country. Other than that, from there, I had to backtrack to Port Arthur, Texas, and shoot down to the Laredo terminal, which is where I'm at now. And then once I get here, I find out that loads are pretty skim. I'm hoping to get out west from here because I got to get to Phoenix, believe it or not, because I am signed up to do mentorship training. You usually have to wait 9 months, but I actually have a guy, Brett, who I've mentioned before, who is going to let me train him for the 6 weeks. So I'll make a little bit of extra money. He'll get to be trained by someone he knows and is familiar with. And I just met him through Facebook and YouTube networking, so it's pretty cool. So I get to make a little bit of money out of the result of these videos and put myself out there, so that's cool. Other than that, I get into Laredo to the final destination. Turns out I was supposed to have gone to the terminal first to get the trailer inspected, because on the Qualcomm it says all loads going through Laredo have to get a trailer inspection. My interpretation is I'm not taking this through Laredo because it's going to Mexico. I'm taking it to Laredo. So it turns out I was wrong. I had to backtrack, took me an extra hour, got to the terminal, did the inspections, all good and fine. And then I get delivered, and I come back, and I've been hanging out and watching basketball, and they have Wi-Fi in the terminal. I've just been watching some movies and hanging out, and took a shower today. So things, the good with the bad, that's all you can really do. I mean, again, it's the first part of the new year. They say freight will be slow. You got to kind of expect it. But the fact that I'll be training someone soon and getting a little extra money out of that is kind of balancing it out mentally for me. But other than that, the last thing I could really mention is I had some lost paperwork from a load from Fort Worth area to Denver. The last video, I was in Amarillo and then up to Denver. So that paperwork I ended up losing, but turns out I didn't lose it. The load after that was a T-call, so I didn't have any paperwork to turn in, and when I filled out the cover sheet, I put that trip number on it. So that was all good and fine. I didn't have any missing paperwork. I'm all caught up. And other than that, I did get paid my bonus today for the last quarter. It's not exactly what I would expect, but I'm still going to look into it and see if it's all right. That's about it.